好，我是Esa Wang，然后我目前是一个艺术学校的学生，也是一个艺术家。很开心能够今天来到 Magic Moments 和大家分享呀。Okay, so it really started. I was in a beauty pageant by then. It was very chaotic. It was super competitive. Everybody was kind of like going against each other. And I just feel like a certain type of very mixed emotion by then. I actually got inspired of this work because I've been doing more focus on performance arts in the past years, and I've never really touched on visual arts. I thought it was never going to be my thing. I didn't find any strong inspiration that pushes me or ignites me to do this, grand thing. So I was like, no, I'm not going to touch it. But by the time I was like in this random backstage moment, and I just see so many powerful women. They all look so confident, so passionate in what they're doing. Feels like, oh my God, I'm here to win this. It's just when I feel insecure, but they're all feeling like super confident. It was this very mixed emotion. And I was like, yeah, I feel like I wanted to go that one step further and try to explore womanhood, the idea of womanhood beyond just visually or like appearance. I wanted to explore a more emotional aspect of women, talking about resilience, maybe even interconnection. And it was like, how can I supposed to embody that using performance arts? It's really hard because every audience is supposed to have different interpretation based on my image, like what I imagine. So this is how it started. It was Woman as Flower. And I choose to express it in four paintings in this one series is truly because I think I can't talk about everything in this one big thing. I feel like it would have to be like humongous. So I was like, why not? I separate it into like four different characteristics of womanhood, and I could just talk about each individual one of them, and find a way to correlate with them each other. And when I was creating it, I was asking my question. I was like, well, how can women bloom at every age in life? And I was like, oh yeah, but like I don't want to talk about like woman aging. I want to talk about beyond aging and beyond cultural limits and like way ahead of everything. So that's kind of how I understand it. And then later, when I like explored the painting in a more deeper level, I realized, okay, I'm kind of questioning how female strength is often misunderstood in this whole series and kind of talk about that in a way further, which I'll talk about in the later questions. Yeah. Actually, a really good question because as you can see in the painting, I feel like I break so many traditional bonds, and people around me have been already saying the same thing, like, Lisa, you're creating some really crazy stuff. And I was like, yes, I know. So this four paintings, as you can see, if you see it in real life, is actually 3D. So some of the materials will pop out of the entire canvas, and that was intentional because I wanted to use the materials to really demonstrate the idea of multi-layered woman. So not woman in like boom, like one idea or one image of a certain type of woman, but so many different versions of woman because woman cannot be classified into like one specific look. Specifically when I talk about like in more details, I feel like the lace, like almost the pearls and the sequins are kind of talking about like that elegance, expression, visibility side of woman, like, like that perfect woman picture. But in contrast, the eggshells, even some of the fabrics that I used, even some of like the color glues that I used to like tape them on, kind of signifies the fragility, the care, the domestic strength, being a mom, the idea of not that perfect side of women. And to me, they're both really perfect because that's what they signify as women. And the idea of mixing the soft materials to the hard materials was really creating my own formula of how like external beauty plus internal resilience will get you women. The idea of women. Yes, as I talked about earlier, it was very breaking the bond, breaking some traditional bonds, just kind of mirroring how women in the future, especially in the recent days, breaks the expectations of stereotyping and the idea of body shaming, like a lot of very sensitive topics. But that's what we're here for. Yeah. Um, the idea that I named this flower because I feel like flower are sometimes often correlate with the classification of women, but it's not just that. Many people have asked me this question with like, is a flower embodies women? And be like, yes, it does, but not in all the ways. So why did I wanted to call it woman as flower? We're talking so much about flower in this entire series because think of the flower cycle. You start from the growth part, which is like the bud, and then you go to transformation, which is like the blossom, like the best part of a flower, and then you get the decay. The decay is when it withers. And when just like the natural age of flower. And then you get the rebirth, which when they go back, nurturing the roots, and another cycle begins, kind of like infinity. And I wanted to use that to parallel the idea of a woman's life cycle. And in this case, kind of talking about like the idea of like youth, and then you mature, and then you age, and then you renewal, like you die. But is again trying to say that no flower is supposed to like beyond their prime. To me, every single age of this flower, where every single stage of woman signifies something important, and they're all at their prime. So I was trying to challenge the idea of okay, no woman is past their prime. And it kind of recognize or kind of resonates with women's spiritual, emotional, internal aspect, beyond visual, beyond appearances, beyond what we see. Yeah. Um, as you can see, or if you don't know, I'm a Canadian, but I'm also like Chinese Canadian, and I'm here in the United States studying. So I have a lot of mixed culture going on. So I've throughout the course of my life, or throughout the course of my inspiration in art, I've witnessed so many different women communities, so many, and these mixed ideas or mixed perspective really shaped me into someone who just thinks and do it. So like I don't overthink. I really trust my guts. In this case, I often in my art try to combine like Eastern restraint with symbolism together. I feel like that's often can be found either in my performance art or my visual arts or Woman as Flower. And the idea of like using Western boldness with abstraction and then mix them all well with each other and connected with my Eastern or Asian roots is something that I love to do and I found is super, super cool. And I feel like that is already so much contribution towards my identity. And the things that I'm experiencing right now is really a cultural integration. And I feel like I really demonstrate the idea of cultural integration or multiculturalism in my art as always because I wanted to show that I'm a beyond this Asian girl. I have like so much things that I wanted to share to the world, and especially visual art this time has really helped me to build that bridge and be able to share some things that are like kind of sensitive towards the society. Yeah. Cultural identity. I feel like talking about like Asian culture and Western culture, I feel like they're kind of different, especially me being in both of them. I often feel the difference in trying to balance, find the big, like the big middle point to like stand there and be like okay with everything. So I feel like to me in my art specifically, I kind of show Asian culture as like connection, respect, resilience, maybe even a little, and Western culture is more of like self-expression, freedom, very bold. And I feel like since my theme all like often or like all the time centers like female unity across like different races, ages, and culture, I feel like I was able to really navigate that to well balanced thing better in my arts. I wouldn't say that in like life in general, but like I feel like in arts I can often find a great balance point in between. And I mean, all of my other types of art, I feel like I've talked about women as flower for a really long time. But in my other types of art, like performance arts in general, and gawa in general, and like even like modeling in general, like everything that I've done, I feel like has been a mix between these two cultures, and I'm really glad that I'm able to cherish that and bring that into all parts of my art. Yeah. Hmm, I feel like so during as Woman as Flower, I was the main artist or the lead artist in this entire series. But however, I do have a beautiful, so talented Asian artist in Japan. And she sometimes like transfers between Japan, Mongolia, and China. So like, the time difference is, oh my gosh. The international collaboration process is truly stressful at the first place because it's really hard to, get all of these four series done for me for the first time and then transfer that to her and she transfer it back. And not only is very time consuming, it's also a very mentally stressful process. And I feel like this idea of international collaboration process really challenged the idea of point of view because different person had different perspective and different ways of viewing art, and I totally respect that, and I'm just glad that I'm able to really demonstrate the idea of pov in here because I'm able to incorporate different point of view during my creation process, not just like when people view it they see it in a different way, even as often most art types artworks does. I'm glad that to get the idea of like challenging the idea of POV too, which it was really unexpected. I didn't know that that was gonna happen at the first place, but as time progresses, I realize that, and the idea of like how art could hold a lots of different art types together, like dance, performance, even like visual paintings and activism, even is truly a beautiful weapon for you to like share your point of view or for you to share your perspective in terms of human. And personally, I do think that everybody has the ability and the right to share their perspective or their point of view in any way. It doesn't have to be through art. It's just something or like a bridge that I choose to cross because I feel like not only is what I'm passionate of, but it's also something that I found very easy to share some of the things that I wanted to share to the world. Yeah. Um, I feel like since starting this visual art journey has been a lot because I'm still learning, growing along the way. It's not something that I'm just like born to be good at since I've always been a truly like theater kid, dance kid. Is not something that I'm very familiar of, but I'm glad that this visual art journey has really shifted my art from like the idea of like just meaning to like an impact because technically this Woman as Flower series really symbolizes the idea of activism and trying to deliver women equity and women empowerment through this Woman as Flower series. And I just didn't know at the first place how this will become a very big activism thing. I just thought it's something that I wanted to share. So I learned the idea of how arts can be used as an impact. And I found myself being in a state where I'm more confident in terms of using abstract language to discuss like social issues or using art language. Um, right now, arts for me has been really um, used as a tool to start conversations and to open some sensitive topics to the world, not just like something to be admired of, something to, be seen. That's it. I feel like I do have a stronger commitment into specifically woman-centered activities because of this art. I feel like I've brought myself into a world where I can bravely talk about some sensitive topics in terms of women because of this artwork. I found myself in a more comfortable state, and I'm really glad that I got the opportunity to do that because it's truly something that I've ever never thought myself to be in a state in, and something I'm very grateful of. Yeah. Oh, okay. Since no, because okay, so this is the I'm still a student yet, so I won't give some like crazy, crazy things. But if I look back, one advice I'll give to myself, I think, is like do not ever limit yourself in terms of one form. And that's just in general, but also like arts, identity, self-expression. I feel like don't limit yourself in one form. It really disconnects something. In fact, let the disciplines connect with each other. Nothing too scary is gonna happen. And the idea of like your background and your identity will never be a weakness to you. It will always help you in terms of building something. It doesn't have to be art. And it's truly your strongest material. I do think my Asian roots, my Asian background, is something that differentiates me from others because it's something that only I hold, something that I only remembers. Speak boldly also maybe to share your ideas. Do not be afraid if it even challenges the society because the society needs voices, the society needs good and the bad. That's why we're here. And our art doesn't technically need to be understood by other people. As long as you share something that you wanted to share, arts can be everything. It doesn't have to be a one specific way of demonstration. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I wanted to take away, well, just students in general. I'm not gonna say specifically women, even though like my entire artwork is about women. But I wanted to let them know that the fact that identity is truly layered, is always evolving, is very valuable to you. You should always cherish your identity, as what I answered in the last question. Identity are super crucial and super unique parts of you. In terms of specifically this publication is specifically facing towards Asian viewers or Chinese viewers. I feel like that's something that we truly share as, common people in our community. And arts can truly be a tool of freedom, healing, and even advocacy. So if you have something or if you have a perspective that you want to share, I would recommend arts as a way of sharing that, since it can really be it can not only create some very interesting bonds between your ideas and arts and advocacy, but also just demonstrating and find another passion in general. And yeah, how creativity is truly valuable and can shape your confidence and build empathy. Yeah, feel like in the future, I feel like since Women as Flowers was such a big success, I feel like I would definitely continue to do women rights focused visual and performance works. I feel like it's truly starting to become a piece of me that is undividable. I will keep using art to expand on cross-cultural maybe, and even like past different generations collaborations. I feel like since age was never truly a barrier or a challenge to me, if I resonate with someone, I resonated with that person, not that person in any age or race or gender. um and I will keep grow on the arts that I have right now, but keep consistent with the idea of women rights, freedom, and just in general, race, gender, male, female, non binary, and the idea of kind of inspiring the audience and like inspiring different voices to speak and deliver that same purpose that I have.